The Betrayed.
Welcome back to The Betrayed. I'm Gina Beck.
This is Drew Williams.
Thank you for listening, liking, commenting, and subscribing. We appreciate y'all, especially the reviews on Apple Podcasts. It really means a lot.
Yeah, like always, thank you again for the continued support, the continued engagement, and the hashtag Banana Cats.
How are you, Drew?
I'm alright, G. How are you?
I'm doing well. Doing well. Excited to get into this podcast.
Yeah, it's got some more interesting topics as always.
Are you going first or am I?
Let's start off yours. I think yours is a little more, it's pretty crazy.
Yeah, we both actually came across this and sent this to each other at like around the same time. But I live in Washington State, and this happened just not too far from me. It's about 90 miles from Seattle, 90 miles north from Seattle in Bellingham, Washington. If y'all know me, that probably sounds familiar. Washington State School Board Director, I guess she owns, an adult shop. She's making headlines after announcing she will teach sex education classes for children as young as 9 on topics such as, sexual anatomy for pleasure and safer sex practices for all kinds of sexual activities. The class for 9 to 12-year-olds is an introduction to topics related to relationships, puberty, bodies, and sexuality. I guess they focus on what makes healthy versus unhealthy friendships and romantic relationships, the science of how puberty works, consent and personal boundaries, defining sex, and discussing why people may or may not choose to engage in those kind of activities. Her name is Jen Mason. She's owner of the adult shop I was speaking of, and it's called Wink Wink. One word, capital W's, in Bellingham, Washington. And the school board director for the Bellingham School District told a radio host named Jason Rantz that there will be like 4 3-hour sex education classes held at Wink Wink next month as part of an event built like they're trying to promote everything, right? And it just sounded really odd to me. And the more that I read into it, you know, I guess now she's not allowed to be in the school district, but she can have her own business, and the ages range from 0 to 18 years old of who can come to these classes now. Now, all of that, it just sounded like too much for 9-year-olds to learn, in my opinion. I think that's just too much. I think boundaries is a good one, you know, and because I think kids should learn boundaries. They should know to say no, but I think they should learn that from their parents, right? I think a whole class on it where kids are learning stuff like that. I just think I think it's too young. Isn't 9 too young? Have you been around? You have 9-year-olds in your family? I have 9-year-olds in my family, and I don't want them learning about that stuff this young. They're still playing with what are those things? Mini brands. What do they want to know about that?
My godson just turned, 10 somewhat recently, the end of last year. And I don't think he needs to go to classes like that. On top of the fact that that's just one subject out of the long list of things that is really weird to talk about 9-year-olds to.
Mm-hmm.
And why does it have to be in her adult section? How is that even legal? Like I thought kids weren't allowed in those shops. Or is that just a policy that's just usually what people gravitate to? I don't know. It's weird.
I think this situation isn't done. I think more will come of it because if she's already getting this backlash, I highly doubt like it's gonna be able to continue. As long as like I always say, the community sticks together. They stand their ground. If this is not what you want children in your community to be learning, you need to make sure that it doesn't happen. Just like with every community, we've talked about tons of communities. Well, now this is Washington. This is part of my community, I feel like. Even though I'm hours away, that's still, I go to Seattle. I have family in Seattle. My family travels to Seattle. Like, I think I want the kids within my community to learn stuff like that. I don't. So if you're a parent or if you know people in this area, I just think you guys should, if you really don't want this to continue, just stand your ground, stay loud, stand your ground about it.
There's nothing really more to say as far as like what you should do is that's rational. I mean,
Right.
we don't have anything against like adult shops or anything like that. I just don't get why
Of
everyone
course
wants to,
not.
why does everyone want to include kids into things that have been for decades been, adults only, whether it be the shows, the shops. I sometimes I'm just lost for words and for things like this at this point because it's like every week it's a whole list of weird stories that we could bring up. This was just one of the strangest ones considering her position.
Yeah, it specifically says here, word for word, that the upcoming sex education classes will be held in her personal capacity as a local business owner, not as a school official. Similarly, the open mic night was not endorsed by the school district. So she's also having open mic nights, is the thing, too, that she has at the shop.
Open mic
From
nights for adults, that's great. That's fine. Like
No,
my
it's for children.
that's yeah, see, I just
It's for
that's
queer and youth children, uh, 0 to 18.
so it sounds like a great place for adult weirdos to go prey on that
Right,
type of
nothing
youth.
should be going on in her shop like that. It should stay at the shop. Like, you want to do more business, get another building, rent something. You know, Mer- merging the two. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know. I don't get it. But it reminded me when I saw this. It just reminded me of Alfred Kinsey. Remember when we talked about him
Oh yeah, Alfred Kinsey's a very interesting weirdo.
and the things that he was doing and studying in 1912? Right? It
Well,
in 19
it was in the 30s and 40s is when he was collecting the data. I think the books were
Oh,
published
excuse
in
me, in 1912 he graduated. I'm sorry.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, it was in the 1940s and 50s. My bad. So in the 40s and 50s, though, that's still quite some time ago. I mean, not too long ago, but it's still kind of quite some time. But it's still like, this just reminded me of that, of what he would study and how he'd have all these subjects. You know what I mean? And I was just like, and now it's just, why do you want to do something to someone so young? And within him, but with her, it's she's teaching it. So I just feel like it gives their mind opportunity to just grow up too fast. You know what I mean? They don't need to be thinking about that stuff, I don't think.
No, not at all. And that's the thing is where
And it's gross,
it's
isn't it?
gross, it's weird, and I don't understand why it's a debate about having kids around this stuff now suddenly. Like it does really feel like within the last half decade or more that there's just been total gravitation to sexualizing youth. I don't know how else to say. I know it makes us sound like old time Bible bashers or something like that, but it's like we're talking about 9-year-olds
The
and
ages
younger
are
here.
younger and younger and younger. Like, every time a headline comes our way, it's a younger age.
Yeah,
It's sickening.
yeah.
So, go ahead.
It was just a scary sign of like society's direction right now.
Yeah, and it's happening all over, not just in Washington State and Bellingham. So, like I say, just stay strong, stand your ground, be loud. If you don't like these things, make sure you're speaking up about it to the school districts. Otherwise, it will continue and be solidified, as in, it'll be even harder to make change. So,
There's nothing more that really needs to be said about that. It's besides, like you said, get involved with everything that's going on.
Yeah.
I've got a segue to, well, this one doesn't have to do with necessarily hurting children, but people just need to be more aware. And I don't know if this is an isolated incident. It's another one. There should be updates. Hopefully, this is just one time. This came out late June out of Sacramento, in Turlock, California, which is about, I don't know, 90 plus miles southeast of Sacramento. It's about 100 miles east of the Bay Area. It's kind of like an ag larger town like where I live. But the title was Amazon delivery driver arrested after breaking into Turlock home and attempting to assault woman. Police say the suspect was wearing an Amazon delivery uniform and had arrived at her home in an Amazon delivery vehicle. An Amazon delivery driver has been arrested by officers with the Turlock Police Department after allegedly attempting to essay a woman by breaking into her home. Friday, June 24th, around 11:30 a.m., Turlock police officers say they were called to the 2300 block of Lander Avenue in Turlock after 911 calls reported an Amazon delivery driver had walked in uninvited into an open front door of an home. The driver, identified as Ryan Lee Chris, 22, allegedly made a statement to the woman about her attractive appearance while inside the home. The woman and her husband were able to push Chris out of the home and shut the door. The woman then locked herself in a bathroom to call 911 while her husband searched for Chris, according to police. The husband's coworker, who was reportedly waiting outside of the home, saw Chris jumping a fence into the backyard of the same home and running towards the house. The husband and the coworker found that Chris had gotten inside the house again by breaking into a bedroom window. The two eventually found Chris inside the house and detained him until Turlock police officers arrived on scene. Police say Chris, who worked for Soon Express, which partners with Amazon, did not have any deliveries to make to that address. Chris was booked into the county jail on suspicion of attempted hard R, burglary, and vandalism. While authorities say they believe the case was an isolated incident, they ask anyone with information to call the Turlock Police Department at 209 664 7323, and you can email them also at tpdtipline@turlock.ca.us. It was one of those stories where it's like, it's so common to see those drivers everywhere, you don't even second guess them coming into your neighborhood. And that guy just struck. It could have been way worse.
Definitely. I mean, and to think people probably go through something like that every day.
Oh, yeah. A lot of these weirdos look for easy opportunities to prey. You leave a door unlocked. And that was 11:30 a.m. on a Friday. I mean,
Mm,
there's people out and about, neighborhoods going. I mean, it's sad to say we live in that type of society now, but you need to lock your doors. You got to put some type of defense up. It's a deterrent. It's not 100%, but sometimes it's just that. They said it was an open front door.
mm. I didn't even plan on talking about this, but I had that weird truck sitting in front of my house the other night. And when I got a good look at the truck, it had no license plate, and what is a truck sitting outside for over an hour, goes to the dead end of the dead end of the road, turns around, comes back and parks in the same spot. No license plate. Like, that is so weird. And then when I tell my neighbors about it, one lady showed me a picture of these two guys who knocked on her door, no uniforms, but claimed that they worked with the local like electric company and needed to look at her electric box. And she was like, "No, you're not coming in my house." And called the cops. And then I've heard other stories from other people I know, not in my area, who's had similar things happen, and they've told them, "You want to come in, you can call the cops so that they can approve of you are who you are," and they just leave and don't do anything. There's weirdos out there, and it's sad to say this, but they're getting more desperate, I feel like, with how everything is right now, the economy. I mean, even gas. People are probably siphoning gas out of people's driveways. So just be safe.
Yeah, it's one of those things. Gina called me about that. I was so weirded out by it. She's so tough with it. She's chased that guy down the road, asking him what he's doing. But it's so creepy. Don't if you're gonna be like G, make sure you
Yeah, I left that out because I didn't. Don't be like me. I should have. I got a security camera the next day. I have one for the back of the house for like the garage, the upper half of the driveway, but not the lower half, like the whole front of the house. Now the whole front of the house is covered, and the neighbors even. So
yeah, you got to do those things. There's so many options for it now too. Everything's getting a lot cheaper for those things, so it's a good
yeah, it
investment, I
wasn't
think.
bad at all.
Yeah,
On Amazon too. Came in the next day.
yeah. Hopefully, it doesn't come with a weirdo driver.
Never again. Let's hope. All right, guys, stay safe, stay vigilant. Love y'all. Banana cats. Until next time.
Banana cats. Much love. Peace.